Hi everyone, Renee here. So this video is going to be all about what I'm doing for makeup before I go out these days. I haven't done one of these for a really long time, so this is a long overdue update because a lot of you have been requesting this video, which is always a surprise to me because I feel like I try to do the minimum I can to look as unmade up as possible. You know, my approach to makeup really has a lot to do with making my skin look good and not my makeup. For the skin finish that I want, I rarely feel I can depend on complexion makeup for that because I want skin that just looks naturally healthy, well hydrated, well balanced, glowing from within. So I found nothing more effective at achieving that than actually balming my skin with hydration, especially when it's feeling a little more dull and depleted. The 7 Skin method was game-changing on that front, which is basically you keep on layering the same hydrating toner on your skin and you keep applying the layers until your skin just feels really plumped out and bouncy and juicy. The moisturizer I use before makeup is actually more important than the complexion makeup itself. This is pretty much what gives me the skin effect that I want. It's an important primer for me and it really affects the way makeup looks on my skin, so I tend to go for moisturizers that are hydrating and leave a silky finish rather than a matte one. That's just my own personal preference in aesthetic. The 2 moisturizers that give me the most flattering, silky skin finish are Tatcha's Dewy Skin Cream, and also I've mentioned this one a lot, Sulwhasoo's Concentrated Ginseng Renewing Cream. So I'm going to apply this first, and you know, what works for you or gives you your desired skin finish, what moisturizer does that really depends on your skin type. The same, of course, goes for sunscreen. You really want to look for the one that gives you that aesthetic skin finish that you're looking for. I feel like this gives my skin just a jolt of energy, and it's really good at sealing the hydration in my skin. So usually I'll do one of 2 things, especially because these days when I do go out, I am wearing a mask. So I kind of like using touch-up makeup. I love the Westman Atelier Vitalskin foundation stick for this. It's actually made for this, I feel. And as far as complexion makeup goes, this has one of the least offensive ingredient decks I've seen. In fact, it's got a lot of nice skin beneficial ingredients. This blends out really well, has a natural skin finish. This doesn't feel heavy at all on my skin. But also, I love that it allows your skin to shine through. It kind of evens things out without covering everything up. I just kind of use my fingers. So always around the eyes. The other place that I use this is around the nose, where I tend to have a lot of redness, and for some reason I've been getting more redness around this area. I think it has something to do with mask wearing. And also I use it around my mouth where there is a lot more darkness than the rest of my face. So I tend to never put foundation on my forehead and this area of my nose, only because when I do, it just makes it really obvious that I'm wearing foundation. So just by eliminating those areas, everything just looks so much more natural, like you aren't wearing makeup. I tend to always focus just on the center of my face and then blend outwards. An alternative that I love for this application is Trinny's Just a Touch. This kind of reminds me of RMS's Uncover Cover-Up, except this is a lot lighter weight and it applies so beautifully without feeling heavy, and it really just evens out the skin tone exactly where you need it to. And her whole philosophy around makeup is the same as mine, which is, you know, cover up your imperfections, not your complexion. Today I'm going to do the other thing that I usually do because I am meeting a friend of mine for lunch, so we will be sitting outdoors under the sun, and I will be taking my mask off because I have to eat. So I'm going to use a CC cream. A lot of days when I'm spending more time outdoors, I do actually just like to use a tinted sunscreen instead of makeup. A new one that I really have been loving is this one from Supergoop, their CC screen with an SPF of 50 and a PA of 4+. So this is their new and, in my opinion, improved version of their original CC Daily Correct cream, which actually happens to be the first Supergoop formula I had ever come across, like years ago in my Birchbox. So that formula only had 3 shades, but also it was a very mattifying formula. So it had a very matte finish, which is great for people with oilier skin types, but for me, I wanted something less mattifying. This version, on the other hand, has 15 shades available. It also gives a really nice natural finish, so it's not too matte and it's not too glowy. It just looks really natural, but it does give you a bit of radiance. This evens out the skin tone without giving as high coverage as a lot of traditional CC creams do, or as the IT Cosmetics CC cream does. That one's very high coverage. And what I really appreciate appreciate about it is it's actually buildable. I've used this in 2 layers and applied exactly the same amount as I would my regular sunscreen. You can use this right up to your eyes and it will not sting. This does not irritate your eyes at all. In fact, I really just don't feel it migrates. I think once you apply it, it just stays put on your skin, which is exactly what you want. I've even used this under a mask. Like, you don't see a clear line of demarcation. This has the iron oxides in it, so sometimes I will apply an extra layer just on areas where I get more hyperpigmentation, which is around my cheeks. And it just doesn't get cakey. It blends out really, really nicely, which I love. This is 20% zinc oxide and 4% titanium dioxide. This also has some really nice natural antioxidants in here, like Irish moss or red algae, but this is also oil-free. This is not a moisturizing formula. So for those of you with very dry skin and you're living in dry climates, do take note of that and make sure that underneath this you're wearing a substantial moisturizer. By the way, I do want to mention that if you have any very red acne marks that you're trying to cover and normal concealer, regular makeup just doesn't cut it, then to me the most effective cover is this one from Physicians Formula, their Conceal Rx in Soft Green. This is the only thing I've ever used that really works. It just sticks to the spot you want it to stick to and it doesn't fade throughout the day. This lasts the entire day without fading. I've been really neglecting my brows lately. I just usually don't do anything to them anymore. But you know what? I'm gonna use my favorite brow gel, this one from Saie. This is a brow butter that I really love because it's kind of like a brow wax, but also it leaves you with the most natural looking stain. It keeps everything in place neatly. I love this because it reminds me so much of the Surratt Brow Pomade, except for this has a little bit of a tint to it. I've been keeping it really simple for eyes. I like to just get the waterline just to fill in the lash lines to give the illusion that I actually have lashes. The Shiseido MicroLiner ink in black and also the one in dark brown have been my favorite and my go-tos for years. I really have never been able to find anything to replace it because not only is it a gel liner that just does exactly what it's supposed to do, which is really define the lash line, but also it does not budge, not for anything. And I'm one of those people, everything sort of transfers, this doesn't. So I basically just get the lash line. I'm lining around the waterline and just extending it a little bit to give the illusion of a lash that extends out the corner of my eye. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not a lot, but it really, really just makes a difference. In the past few months, so many of my mascaras have just completely dried up without me actually really using them. A lot of you guys are familiar with my ultimate favorite, my go-to, my ride or die, which is the Kevyn Aucoin, the Volume Mascara in black. But it also is one of those coating mascaras. So this does not budge, it does not move, it doesn't smudge. And for me, that's really rare. And I also love the ease at which this is able to be removed. It just takes some warm water and it just kind of slides, everything slides right off. A new mascara that I've been loving a lot is this one from Hourglass, their Unlocked Instant Extension Mascara. So this does give your lashes extension, but in the most natural, subtle way. I also like the brush of this. This really separates out the lashes. This lengthens, it thickens, but of course, most importantly to me, this doesn't smudge, it doesn't budge. It takes a lot to apply makeup on camera without making the faces that I usually make when I apply mascara. I haven't been using my lash serum for a long time, so my lashes are back to being their normal length, which is pretty short and sparse. For blush, I usually switch between powder and cream. I am loving a cream blush right now though, because I feel like even with a mask, it kind of has real staying power, more so than a powder blush does. I'm gonna use the Westman Atelier in Petal because it is like my favorite blush color. It's so natural and really, really flattering. So I don't want to take off any of my CC cream and I don't want to disrupt it, so I just basically tap. I almost feel like I'm pushing the blush into my skin rather than spreading it. I'm not really spreading it, but you have to tap, just tap gently. There are days when the pallor of my skin just is a little on the sickly side. So I do like to maybe put a touch of bronzer. I've been really liking this one from Trinny because it's very subtle, and I like it because it reminds me a lot of the Chanel Soleil de Tan. This is not shimmery at all, which is also something I like. I'm not really into shimmery bronzers, and this is also more warm toned rather than red toned. I'm not going to use it today. For lips, my go-to is always going to be a gloss, and I always like a little bit of shimmer. Sometimes, especially in the fall, I love to go for a bold lip, but right now, considering that we have masks on our face, it'll be messy. So two things that I've been reaching for all the time. One of them is this one from Fresh, their Sugar Blood Orange Hydrating Lip Balm. Not only is this one of my favorite lip balm formulations, but it has just a slight tint to it that is enough to make your lips look healthy. Otherwise, I carry this in my bag. This is what I use all the time, which is Lancome's Juicy Tubes in Hallucination. This is one of their original colors, which I remember using back in like the early 2000s, so I was thrilled to see this come back. This just gives a nice nude, subtle shimmer to the lips, and I love it. So that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for getting ready with me, and until next time, I'm wishing you great skin health. Bye!